I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the City Commission. We have a short presentation from our friends at the Detroit Zoo, and then following that presentation we'll take a short break and then start on a budget study session. So I think we can do our normal Pledge of Allegiance to get started.
All right.
You'll join me?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Paul and Jerry, thanks for joining us here this evening. I don't know, Paul, are you going to start?
We're both going to talk.
I know you have a PowerPoint presentation. So
we do, and I, in my wisdom, I have a set of slides, most of which are photos of the fence line, the perimeter line. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll be one to use, so you've got it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm still of the ilk that when push comes to shove, I'd rather grab a blue pen and put numbers along the side of the edge of this. My attempt is to give you these
Jerry,
numbers 1 through 15.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
We give one to George. Sorry. You got one, George?
There you go. Yep. Sorry.
And each individual slide that we're going to go through is number key to this, and that's just a reference point for you. Take it away. So we're going west to east along Huntington Drive, and we're here at the far end, and that is a picture taken last week. It's behind Safari, which is the restaurant at the end between gates 6 and 7. And you notice the tarp is there. Tony, take the next one, please. On the inside of that area is what we were attempting to cover up. We had made the claim months ago that one of the reasons that we wanted to use screening was to hide the back end of the house. It's a perfect example. So we made a phone call to the general manager of our concessionaire and restaurant manager, and we'll show you 2 more slides.
You ready?
And this shot is the same angle, not quite the same angle, but you notice the tarp is down. And Tony, the next one. And this is what it looked like on, I think it was Monday morning.
Yeah. So we basically cleaned it all out.
So we cleaned it out. Right. Now, it reminds us of 2 things. Number one, the original purposes for which we were trying to use some level of screening. We thought there was legitimate things like hiding what we thought was ugly. We didn't put tarps up because we thought they were beautiful, but we didn't think they were ugly either. Maybe we've learned something there, I don't know. But from where we were about 10 months ago, almost a year ago, to where we are now, all the tarps on the north perimeter fence are down, with the exception of the one at the far east end at Royal Oak, which is there because of the parking lot construction that's underway and the completion that there's still construction going on at the Hope Penguin Conservation Center. Our intention, and I've talked to some neighbors in Royal Oak about that, our intention is when things are done at those 2 projects, that tarp will come down. And what we'll do, and what we'll try to maintain as a way of approaching this whole idea of screening, will be to use natural landscaping as much as possible. So I'd like to walk through several more slides, and partly it's just to show what's been done. We made a significant effort. Tony, go ahead, go to the next one. and keep going.
Well,
Yeah,
that would be, in between the Rhino yard and, the macaques, the Japanese macaques.
part of what we were facing when we do this, and we've made this comment over and over to Amy and some of the other elected officials that we've met with, but not everyone, is that we are limited to the distance between the fence and what we can plant. And it works both from the outside moving in and from the inside moving out. Where we have room, and we often have room, we can build on the inside and plant. Often, we are in situations like this where it's not, there's not a whole lot of room there, so we couldn't put a second row of shrubs in there.
That ain't gonna make any difference, Tony.
I know, just a little.
Yeah. And I don't mean this in a critical manner, but kind of a conflicting with all that is the use of part of the outside of the perimeter fence as gardens by some of the residents would prohibit us from planting where they had their plants. And we've not done that. But in the fall, we spent close to
About $80,000 on just material.
on material and
Because
and
we
did a
did all-
flurry of planting.
Yeah, we did all the labor ourselves. And
And
there's about another, we're spending about another 20 or 30 this spring. And irrigating, so you can't, if you just put it out there, it's
Tony, let's
not
run through
green,
these.
people aren't gonna be happy.
What'd you say?
If it's not green,
Well,
it's
but-
gotta be kept up, maintained.
Yeah. And the obvious comment to make on all of this stuff as you go through it is, it's April, and this stuff will fill in. Now, it's not gonna look like it's gonna be like it is 2 or 3 years from now, but in the short run, there will be some improvement. This is another one from the outside. There's a series of these that come around the bend there. The 8, 9, 10, 11 on the crib. Why don't you just run them through? It's probably the most extensive area where we've put up the vegetation. And you can see in the background, you can see some of the fencing that's on the interior. And that's our animal welfare area. And we'll talk about that as I get through these slides a little bit more. So our intention was to make that as, to shrub it up as much as we could. I guess one of the thoughts I'll leave you with is, as Jerry just said, we did a lot of planting. We're not done. How much more, I don't know. Where, I don't know. But wherever we think we can and we need to, we'll be considering putting more up with the intention of doing more. It's a competing priority among other things that we're doing at the zoo. There will be some landscaping going on around the Polk Penguin Conservation Center. That will merit probably a higher priority than this area in the short run. It doesn't mean we won't touch it sometime this year. It's just that we're not in a position to make any really strong commitment. What we're hoping to do by running through these slides, and Tony, you can keep going just for the sake of it. There's a great shot behind the area on the curve where we've done a lot of shrubbing on the outside. There's a service drive just immediately on the inside of it. The tarp that you see to the left is protecting some of the animals that are in a holding area that we are using for animal welfare purposes. And again, we'll get to that in a second. I would think that later this year, much of what you see through that shot, that's a shot directly across the street, is going to be mostly covered over, not totally. In a year or two, it will be. My general reaction and the reaction that I've heard from neighbors about the shrubbing was very, very positive. After all, we have a professional who is our landscape guy, and he knows what he's doing. And I think what we're trying to do is to avoid abrupt decisions being made that might have different kinds of outcomes. You know, we have a wall on the south perimeter. I don't think we want a wall on the north perimeter. One more, Tony, and we'll be pretty much there. This is at the far end. Again, this to the left, you see some of the shrubbing that we did against there is tarping there. We're trying to hide some of the tarp. We didn't have enough room to do that on the exterior fence, which is to the right. The solution, as we thought, would be to put some of those shrubs up close to the animal welfare area, and probably could be improved, but again, those things are almost at the top of the existing fence and the tarps to the left. I'd like to see that sometime in July or June. If we get some decent water, it's going to fill in. And you know, it would make sense for me to say, but I can't speak for our landscaping people. Maybe Jerry can. I don't know the right time at which we would be going back through that area. But adding a shrub here or there doesn't seem like a difficult thing. if
Maybe
we've got
either
the
now
room.
or in the fall. Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about animal welfare. This is something that you need to understand first and foremost, that this is a hugely important area for the Detroit Zoological Society. We are recognized both internationally and nationally as a leader in animal welfare. We basically defined the term. We organize annual conferences at the zoo. We bring in animal care professionals from around the world. There's another one planned in August, and we bring people from, I think we brought people from at least 3 different continents, if not 4 last year. Essentially, the zoo needs a quiet, private, or secluded area to address special animal needs. There may have been some confusion about whether or not this was a permanent need or a temporary need. It is indeed a permanent need. We need locations that are far away from both our guests and I guess normal zoo traffic, as well as from outside the zoo. The location that we have come to use it as that area is up, pushed as northward as we can from essentially where the camel exhibit is and a little bit further east of there. The use of the tarps, let's go to the next one. These are reasons why we use it. It's probably not all inclusive, but it's representative. Animals get quarantined. They are a temporary holding area. If an animal is off exhibit and waiting to be put somewhere else, that's a place for it. Often we bring in animals from outside. They go through quarantine and then they get put in. Often to go to the public, it'll go to an area like that where they just get used to being outside in that general environment. Sometimes animals are suffering from some type of medical treatment. They're not sick, but they're not long enough to go back out. And again, the idea of putting them in an area that's sheltered and quiet makes some sense. And again, the area that we call the area, and for specific breeding purposes, where we're working with AZA and the species survival program. So they're exotic birds for exotic reasons, and often not necessarily out on exhibit. So that's an important function coming out of that area. Go ahead, Tony. Why the screening? It's just it's the isolation, and are sensitive to motion, to sound, and to light. Those tarps aren't necessarily, they're not opaque, you can see through a little bit, but this whole notion of light bothering them is an issue. The screening was a convenient way of providing some ability to reach that goal.
It's not uncommon if animals get spooked that they have, especially hoof stock, they have this stampede reaction where they take right off, they'll run into a cyclone fence. In fact, I was at Columbus Zoo on Tuesday and they lost a zebra last fall. There was a truck unloading, they didn't have it shaded, shade cloth properly, it was looking through and took off into a fence and broke his neck. So, it's same kind of reasons that we don't like fireworks at the Rackham Golf Course. That's probably another commission meeting.
Good luck. 40 years.
That's why I said it was another meeting.
Good luck.
Another meeting or 10.
Yeah. So, anyway. So landscaping, our goal's been to create a natural barrier as much as we were able to. We've invested, a good amount of money. We think it's a better product than fencing. I think over the long term, it's going to look better. It's going to be more appealing to the neighborhood. It'll continue to fill in, and we'll keep investing in it. I think Stephen Bernard's our landscaping director, and he was 15 years at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. He's got a master's degree in horticulture from University of North Carolina, a bachelor's from Michigan State in horticulture. He's very knowledgeable and runs a good crew. So I think he's done a nice job with it. So that's really our story. Any questions or?
Lecture, so they can see.
Pardon?
But light?
Light.
Thank you very much. That was very informative. And before we take it up to the commission, I'm going to see if the public has any questions about the presentation or comments.
Yes, if I may.
You can come to the microphone and introduce yourself, George, just in
George
case someone doesn't know you.
At 8572 Huntington Road.
Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation. Unfortunately, the photographs not only were dark, but they're all from the vantage point of the zoo looking outward. There were no photographs of the residences looking toward the zoo. And the area that I'm very concerned about is the area behind the concession stand toward the back of the Rhino house. That area gets a lot of traffic, both from zoo goers, trucks, employees that work at the concession stands, and it is an eyesore. Yes, the area was cleaned up, and I appreciate that, but now we see clean dumpsters as opposed to dirty dumpsters, and it is an eyesore.
So you want screening there?
Well, I didn't mind the screening. I know some people do, some people don't. I'm not looking to have everything screened. There's no reason for that. I'm concerned about one area that really needs heavy screening. And if it can be done with landscaping, wonderful. I think the key phrase there was landscaping is not complete. I'm not looking to break the bank. There were a couple areas. I did talk to Mr. Good the other day about one specific spot that is kind of a gaping hole where people come out of the Rhino house, and when they come out, they're directly in line with my driveway. And if...
George, I'm not following you. When you say they come out, you mean when they walk out?
Yeah, they walk out of the building.
Yeah.
and
Are they on the zoo's property?
on the zoo's property, directly across from my property.
Okay.
And you're right in line with my driveway.
But
We're talking
I'm
about
not,
zoo
so
visitors,
what?
right? People that are going into the Rhino house? And-
No, they're going out of the Rhino
But I mean,
house.
these are zoo visitors, not.
Zoo visitors, yes. yeah.
Inside the zoo?
Inside the zoo.
Not
There's-
outside.
No, there's no traffic.
So what are
outside.
they in line with? I'm not following.
There's a lot of traffic now.
You mean you can
I'm
see
concerned
them?
about security, from my point of view.
I don't get it. Isn't that a fence going between
There's no
your?
fence. I mean, it's an open fence, but visually, it's wide open now.
I'm not, you mean it's, I'm not getting this. Is there an opening in the fence?
No. No, I'm not saying people can walk out.
George, we've known each other a long time. I'm trying to understand what is the issue?
Visually, there's no security. Visually. People are right there. I had an incident many, many years ago, which I did relate to Mr. Good, where when my kids were little in the front yard, there was no screening of any kind, and a zoo goer exposed himself and kind of traumatized my kid in the front yard.
I'm not diminishing that,
Right
but
there.
Well, first of all, I mean, the zoo is not responsible for conduct on the part of a visitor to the zoo.
No.
I mean, if you've got that kind of, if you got a perp like that on the.
There is, typically, and I think we have in our ordinance, one provision where commercial property abuts residential, there's a requirement for a masonry wall, okay? And there's an alternative for landscaping. We have that situation here, we're abutting residential with commercial.
Well, you don't want a masonry wall.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying
I mean,
we need more landscaping right there.
I get,
That's what I'm asking.
George, I get that, but you know what we've been, this whole thing started, I mean, in part was touched off because people were so irate because of the screening, didn't want any screening. We had residents come in and demand that all the screening come down, and I'm not, and look, I'm just
I'm
trying to
addressing
get.
one particular
I
area.
get it.
For the majority, you have open
Well, what is,
landscaping.
let me ask
It's
you a
nice.
question.
It's
So
very
what,
nice.
hold on. Look, first of all, Mr. Van, I don't know how well, Mr. Erdstein is a distinguished member of this community, and I sat with him on the planning commission for several years, and he's an architect, and he's a very knowledgeable and a very decent guy. So I'm trying to, and of all the people who come in and stand at that podium, he is one of the people who understands the balancing test. He did it when he was chair of the planning commission very effectively with people. I thought I learned a lot from him.
There's two doors to the Rhino house.
Yeah.
There's an east and a west. Is it the west or the east?
It is the, it would be the west.
Okay,
The
well,
rear
let's
west.
take a look at it and see if we
Yeah, yeah.
can bush it up a little more.
Three more.
Would that be?
Put up a
more
sign, no
right
perps,
there.
no,
Yeah.
we don't know, put a sign up if you're gonna expose you, just, you know.
However, when you ask about the screening, you've got a lot of trees behind the concession stand, but they're low.
Right.
You don't- The concession stand stands at an elevation that's a lot higher, and you see the entire rear of it. You should take a
But
look.
what do you want them to do about that? They have a right to operate the zoo.
Yeah. There, I would suggest possibly some screening right there.
On their property. I mean, beyond the bounds of the fence now.
No, right on the fence. Right on the fence, because it's, the screening is not doing the job of screening the concession stand. You should drive by there and you'll see what I'm talking about.
But George, all I'm telling you is we're almost to May. Starting last summer, your neighbor, the only one who came in and told us she liked the screening, she came in because she described she didn't like to see these outside.
Yeah, true.
Things like
That's
that.
true.
But I get that, but you know, look, you know, the issue is balance. And we will do whatever we have to do here to please our residents, because that's our job here.
Correct.
But on the other hand, we can't do stuff in this room we don't have operational control over the Detroit Zoo and what they do inside. What we're trying to work together with them on this problem, so they understand that we have residents that want the aesthetics improved to the greatest extent possible. And my understanding was they all wanted the screening down. They hate the screening. They said they'd rather look at the back of the building than look at the screening and everything like that. So that's why I'm being off guard by this.
When you say all the people, you're not talking about this particular short. I'm sure you have not heard from any of those people.
I haven't, like I said, when this started last summer, it was a uniform drum chorus of take the screening down. And now, like I said, I'm just asking, this is a study session, this is,
Okay.
we're just having a
Exactly.
conversation.
I'm saying this is a unique situation.
I think it would be best if Stephen and Paul and I came over and met with you and took a look.
How's
Okay.
that?
Easily done.
How's that for municipal service,
I think
Mr.
so.
Ernstein?
Does
Excellent.
Paul, do you have his phone number? We'll get your phone number, George.
Great.
I have it in your email.
Have we solved
All
this?
right, right off the bat.
We'll set up a time and
You have
Come on
mine,
over.
yes.
Hmm?
You do have fine.
I do.
Yes.
I do have your card. Yes. I your time.
I came in late, so
They're gonna put up screening in front of your house. I'm just
I
kidding.
think there already is.
I'm just,
Thanks. First of all, the landscaping has been a big improvement overall. We're excited about that. I think so. We're on the Huntington, and right where the exotic birds are located. Actually, where the screening is. I know that the screening taken down, removed, or somehow adapted so there could actually be some way of being able to see in, maybe make it more transparent. I think that would be appreciated. I know there are two of my clients who believe that, and Solomon's around the turn as well. It's been good to have the screening down. My one question was kind of how this is gonna, if there's gonna be any development in the zoo along that border, if that's gonna change fencing, if you're gonna put screening up, if you are going to develop, and here I'm talking about the east side, from Royal Oak down to where Huntington turns, if you're going to develop that.
it could. I don't see it happening in the near term. But the master plan calls for an insect house, which would be west of Sweet Treats, kind of right across from the reptile.
Okay.
It would be where the vultures are now, if you're familiar with that. And the hoof stock.
Okay.
So I don't want to say never, but it's off in the distance.
Okay.
It's not near term at all.
And right now, the exotic birds, it's just the exotic birds in that location, right? There's nothing, right next to the camels, and
Yep.
then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Currently,
All right.
yep.
I would say kind of, I like the idea of doing more landscaping. I do, I know several of my neighbors would like that screening around the camels down or somehow
You know, and
changed.
that's what's tough right now. I
Yep.
think we'll just continue to try to landscape it and,
Screen it with
yeah,
natural.
yep.
Yeah,
I mean, that's our intention.
thanks, that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we have an opportunity for commission comments.
I'm all done.
Commissioner Jenks?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. It's my understanding that we saw a little teeny sample of what that screening would look like last year. And that where it's possible, you will screen on the outside. Where it is not possible, you will try and screen on the inside. Where the animals or the birds are basically, the tarp will be replaced by natural screening. That this will not occur instantly because it takes time, it takes money, and you do have not only that focus, but the penguin house and some other aspects inside the zoo. But the understanding is that where there's going to be tarp, there will be something in front of it that's natural, that will carry out screening. It won't be instant, but it will occur over time. Am I correct on that?
That's correct,
Or am I missing
Mr.
something?
Jenks, yeah.
You know, the one sample we saw was that little piece, and I think it's really nice, but it's tiny. You had that one area that you showed, I think you put in last year, and it really looked nice during the peak of the summer. And as it spreads, we will get some kind of shielding. In addition to that, it is extremely attractive.
Thank you.
You know, that's what I saw. Aaron, I don't think there is more noise that's bothering you, that's been dealt with?
No, I mean, this is about the fencing.
Okay, all right.
But I'd be happy to have the noise conversation separately.
Okay.
I thank you guys for taking the time to come and try to explain a little bit better to the residents why the screening is needed. I do actually think it's very difficult trying to please everybody. My first glance when I saw the screening was down, I thought it looked great, open, but you know, find out from the people who have to look at it every day, they may not like it, and those who actually would prefer to have it's just like it. I appreciate and try and work together. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much also for taking the time to come. I think one of the concerns some of the residents raised in areas where the tarp would be used is about maintenance. And so if there is an area where, for animal welfare purposes, a tarp would be used, it's important that it be maintained. If it becomes weathered or ripped, you know, make an effort to get it replaced quickly so
Sure.
it doesn't become a eyesore. And personally, I think from feedback I've heard, the folks that have contacted me anyway would prefer more of the natural screening like you're doing with the shrubs rather than sort of that wholesale tarping approach.
Okay.
Okay. I also thank you very much for coming in this evening. I enjoy the working relationship that we've formed over the last few months in working through this, and I think that's the best way to approach
It's
these
important.
problems. I'm sure we're going to have a few
Yeah.
spots here and there, like by George's home, that we can address. I think for the most part, screening off the outside fence is a vast improvement for Huntington Woods.
Yeah. But we're also
we appreciate
delighted
that.
with the ability to work directly with you folks and try to be as good a neighbor as we possibly can. We're not going anywhere, you guys aren't going anywhere. We'll be able to.
I'm personally, and I think the entire commission is very proud to have the Detroit Zoo in our neighborhood.
Good.
That's
I'm glad
Absolutely.
that you are.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just a quick one. This here shows on the periphery, but not Huntington Road, the train. Now, we have residents that tell us, no, the train is going to run across Huntington Road. Do you have any plans in the immediate future to run the train along Huntington Road on the
No.
fence?
Not in the immediate future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
thanks again for coming in.
thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for
Good
having
to see
us.
you guys.
Yeah.
Be well.